afternoon, everyone. It's 4:05. I'd like to call this meeting of the Civilian Appeals Board to order. The purpose of this meeting and of our board is to act as a reviewing body pursuant to Commission Policy 800-02 for findings of fact made by Internal Affairs with respect to complaints brought by individuals who believe they have been mistreated by officers of the Grand Rapids Police Department. At this point, I'd like roll to be called.
Russell Olmstead.
Here.
Sophia Brewer. Reginald Howard.
Present.
Michelle Williams.
Present.
Jason Osborne.
Present.
Dean Pacific.
Present.
Jordan Cross.
Thank you. That brings us to approval of the minutes, and before we get started, I know there was, I think we need to amend these minutes as well as the minutes from the June 20th meeting regarding who was present and absent because of the issue with that we had as far as emails getting out. There was an issue getting emails out to Dean as well as I believe Miss Cross as far as being able to attend. They didn't know that there were meetings because they weren't actually on the email thread. So I know we discussed it at the last meeting and all of that, and I just wanted to make sure that we get on the record that that was not necessarily them being absent. It was not them being communicated with that they didn't know that we were even having a meeting. So if there's a way that we could amend that in the official minutes as well, the prior meeting that was approved on June 20th, as well as the minutes for today.
So I would say I think we can add language that just says what you said.
Okay.
That both Dean Pacific and Jordan Cross did not receive notice. I wasn't aware of this tonight.
Okay.
But that they didn't receive notice of the meeting or something to that effect.
You may indicate excused next to their name in
there
the
we go. We
section
can do it
where
that
they're
way.
technically absent.
Yeah, I think that works. We'll just add excuse next to both of their names with that.
Yep, that's satisfactory to me. And Mr. Arnold was, I think we had communicated with after the last meeting, but what he had discovered was that in a staff transition, when the other person who previously took care of all these sort of things moved on, the new person inadvertently was given an old version of the board list. And so Ms. Cross and I, as the newest members, were just inadvertently not included on the circulation of the meeting notices and agendas and minutes and that sort of thing for those two meetings.
That makes sense.
And I also understand it's been corrected now, and
Yep.
I did receive everything today, so I don't anticipate any problem going forward.
Thanks.
Any other corrections? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Voice vote. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. That brings us to the board liaison report.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you. Just a couple of things. The first thing is that we do have a pending appeal. So the appeal was received. The request for information has been provided to the appropriate places. We have not received that information yet, but they're not outside the time period, so that's not to raise alarm. But that is to say that until we receive it and are able to put the package together, I can't say for sure if we'll be having an appeal at the next meeting or if it'll be the following meeting. So we'll keep you posted on that. As soon as we have those materials and are able to make package, we will get them to you in usual fashion. The other part of the appeal, I'm not sure. I wasn't at last month's meeting, so I'm not sure if this was communicated at that time or if it was even known at that time. But Mr. Arnold has transitioned from the city. He accepted a job with Kent ISD as a department director. Super excited for him, sad for me, but super excited for him, and he's excited to, explore this new chapter. He did indicate that he's considering coming back to CAP, which is how we met him in the first place. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Any questions about those two things before I go into the next part? All right. So the next thing is that we do have Daniel here from the clerk's office who will be providing us an update just in general regarding the city's boards and commissions and how they work and answering those types of questions. So with that, I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel. I work in the city clerk's office here for the city of Grand Rapids. I echo the sentiments from Mr. Arnold. I was communicating with him regarding this presentation, so it's a bit of a surprise for me as well. But this is just an overview of the process for appointment and reappointment consideration for our boards and commissions for all of you and for anyone watching who's interested in potentially serving on this or any of our other boards. Just a rundown of what the presentation will entail, a few of our boards and commissions and the differing roles that they serve for the city of Grand Rapids, what types of boards Grand Rapids has, and what does that time commitment look like, and how might one get involved if they were so inclined. So simply put, our boards and commissions of any varying type make our city a better place with citizen engagement and bringing the perspectives of various individuals to the governing process. They also expand the knowledge of how government works for our everyday citizens who may not have been aware of any sort of processes, be it parliamentary procedure or Robert's Rule of Order, or simply how things transpire with city government. We do our best with Mr. Davis's department as well as other departments within the city to hopefully try and mirror our census data to our board representation the best we can. Of course, this information is at will and not mandatory for citizen applicants to provide, which does lead those numbers to skew ever so slightly. However, we are course correcting from the 7 years that I have been working in this position. I've seen quite the course correction and adjustment to have those numbers be mirrored more closely. These are the 6 primary roles of our boards and commissions. We have administrative boards, which oversee internal departments, be it our Water System Advisory Fund or our utility advisory boards overseeing those financial aspects of city work. Advisory boards, such as our Parks and Recreation Board, which recommends various activities and information to the City Commission for consideration. Operational boards perform work as opposed to delegating to city staff, be it our Income Tax Board of Review or our Board of Review for our Assessor's Office, which they take on the work of reviewing those cases so our city staff can kind of oversee the day-to-day operations. The this always trips me up, quasi-judicial boards, which I believe is the board such as CAB, which reviews the appeals for certain cases and issues decisions according to the laws or standards set by our policies. And then quasi-legislative offers policy setting standards and recommendations to our elected officials. There are boards with multiple roles. Any one of these first 5, they could be advisory as well as quasi-judicial, or any makeup of those 5. For anyone interested and anyone watching at home, all of our meetings are open to the public via the Open Meetings Act. A list of locations and schedules is provided on the city's website, grandrapidsmi.gov. And you can search boards and commissions and those will pop right up for you. So that's one of the best ways we get folks engaged and activated for appointment to a board, is that they've consistently shown up to meetings. So the liaison or the appointing authority, if they happen to serve on that board as well, can put a face with a name and then recognize that application when it comes through to realize that they could potentially be an excellent fit for a board or commission. So since the creation of this presentation, there have been boards even more than these 35 that have been added. I believe those might include our Grand Rapids Affordable Housing Board and various other regional boards that we appoint certain members to, but might not appoint the full board to. So these, again, can all be found on our website with a brief description, as well as the liaison contact information if those interested individuals had any questions regarding, scheduling, agenda packets, things like that. So because each board has a various and varying, varying commitment to what all goes into service on the board. There are boards that might not be as large of a time commitment, or there are boards that may involve so much as even attending a training. Our planning commission, I believe, sends its members to somewhat of a charrette about, city planning and through an extension of Michigan State University. But that could be past practice. But like I said, the level of commitment varies, could be greatly, depending on what type of board or commission you're interested in serving on. But again, that would be a great question for the liaison who does this work, bi-monthly for setting the meetings, preparing the agendas, and things like that. Most of our boards and commissions don't have many requirements other than an interest in serving the community, a desire to learn about the city, could potentially have a residency requirement, and there are a few specialized boards which require, say, the Construction Code of Appeals needs a fire official for certifying various appeals and things like that. So again, reaching out to the liaison would certainly answer any of those questions. If you were interested in serving on such a board but didn't have the qualifications, they potentially could advise you on how to go about receiving those qualifications or pointing you in the direction of another board that you may be better suited to serve on. So as I indicated before, the first step in getting involved is to learn about our boards and commissions via our website. So you can head to grandrapidsmi.gov/get involved. This will show you a vacancy list of all of the open opportunities that we currently have for our boards and commissions. And it will provide a PDF version of the privileges and duties of a board member handout, which is mailed and emailed to each individual appointee when they are selected by our Committee on Appointments. Pardon me. So we can see here that this young lady is interested in serving on this lovely body. However, unfortunately, there are no vacancies currently, but if perhaps they wanted to read about the administrative description of duties for another board, all of that information is on our website. Again, at that website, you can find the location and time of each meeting for all of our boards and commissions. And again, really getting that face-to-face contact with the current board members is something that's we found a crucial part of being appointed at a future date. All right. Again, attending the meetings, this is, again, open to all the public. Nothing really special there. Just engaged if you're available and have the time, or you can make the time. Open to all the public. And then apply. So what our application process looks like, due to the Home Rule Cities Act, is that an application or application for reappointment consideration would be submitted to our office, my office, the clerk's office, and then we would receive that form, and then we would send it through our vetting process, which means it would go to our treasurer's office, our income tax office, and our attorney's office to verify that no monies are owed to the city, nor is there any pending litigation that the applicant is currently involved in with the city. Once we hear back from those vetting departments saying, great, they're in good standing with our office, that information is passed along to the appointing authority. The appointing authority for the lion's share of our boards and commissions is the mayor. However, we do have appointments by the city manager and city commission as a whole as well. Once that appointing authority has selected an individual that has been fully vetted, they will let me know. An agenda item will be prepared for our Committee on Appointments during our standing committees in the morning of Commission Day. And then once that Committee on Appointments meeting has reviewed and voted on the appointment, Then at the evening or now afternoon meeting, the City Commission will vote on that during consent agenda if there have been no issues or questions raised about the application. And then once the City Commission has approved that appointment or reappointment, they will be mailed an oath of office packet, which will include that statement and privileges of board member duties, the unsigned oath, a letter from the mayor, as well as the parliamentary procedures and Open Meetings Act information. Something that we are working on revamping now is a training and onboarding informational session with new appointees. We've found that in some cases, they are rather green when it comes to serving on boards and commissions. So we like to reach out to those individuals and, explain a little bit more of the grassroots and lower level processes for serving on our boards. And then through that process, we will introduce them one-on-one to the liaison, and they will go about, getting signed up for those agenda packets and meeting invitations and things like that. And then, of course, if there are no current vacancies or openings on the board and commission that anyone is interested in hearing more information about, they can always log on to our meeting portal and click register to select any of the boards and commissions that pique your interest. And then once those agenda packets and information are sent out for the meeting, you will be on that listserv to receive that information as well as location and meeting timeframes. Are there any questions about this process? I apologize if it was a little fast. I've given this once or twice, so. But happy to answer any questions. I know obviously you all are, of course, veterans to this process, but if there are any questions about updates to it, or if you're interested in term end dates and things like that, I could certainly do my best to answer those. Okay. Excellent. I also would be remiss if in this year I didn't let folks know how they could get involved immediately rather than waiting for a board and commission spot to open. The City of Grand Rapids does have 74 precincts for our upcoming November 5th election. Feel free to reach out to our office at electionworker@grcity.us, and we are looking for workers with all sorts of qualifications, be it computer experience, leadership, past practices, and just an overall willingness to be involved in the democratic process.
Excuse me. Do you have a poster for that?
I don't have a poster, but I'm sure we could get something with such as the "We Need You" sign, maybe blown up by our Kent County Communications Office to get that at a bigger.
Because I have a couple locations. Even at my organization, I would like to post that because we do have people with that experience that would love that. That's a pretty good wage for one day's work.
It's not bad. It is a long day. I will caution folks, it is a long day. However, it is a very fulfilling day. I've served myself, so
Okay,
I
thank you.
can absolutely get those to you, Mr. Howard.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for taking the time from the presentation here, as well as I imagine you've been doing this with other boards, and I think it's, in my time here, this is the first time that we've had something kind of organized in this way, and I think it's great. It's educational. It's wonderful for the public to get this sort of information for people who may want to help in the city and don't know how, don't even know that this is an option. And so to have this type of information out here in this type of capacity makes it digestible and for people. So thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.
All right, that brings us to the next order of business, officer elections. It is time for us to do officer elections on this board again. I am serving in somewhat of an interim capacity, so I think it's also fair that we know that going in to electing officers and the board chair and vice chair and all of that sort of stuff. So, as far as our process for this.
I think we just take nominations from the board, which is what we've done in past years. So if there's anyone who is either interested in serving or would like to nominate someone else to serve as chair or vice chair, we can receive those at this time.
Nominations for chair?
I'd like to nominate Jason Osborne.
Is there does it needs a second or no?
Let's see if there's any other
All right.
nominations first.
Any other nominations? No other nominations for chair at this time?
So, Jason, would you accept that?
Yeah, I'll accept the nomination.
Okay. So then I think we can just call the question related to that if there's no other nominations.
Okay, call a question. Those in favor of,
I'm sorry. Well, there.
sorry?
I guess. Do we need?
I think that'd be helpful.
Okay. So I think we can accept Mr. Howard's nomination as a motion, and then we'll ask for a second.
Second.
All right. You want me?
And we will call it to a vote. Those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Well, it's, yeah. Thank you for the nomination. I wasn't expecting it. And I will certainly rise to the challenge of what I'm called.
Awesome.
Position for vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
The dean shook me off when I suggested nominate him for chair, so I'm going to nominate him for vice chair.
Anyone else interested in chair or excuse me, in vice chair? Seeing none, I see that. Is there a official? We accept that as the official motion. Then, is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, we move to a vote. Those in? Oh, sorry.
Dean, did you accept that?
Oh, yeah. I guess no. He doesn't get a choice.
Yeah, yes, I will.
Sorry about that. Those in favor of Dean taking on position of vice chair for the board? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Seeing none, it carries. Congratulations, Mr. Vice Chair. That brings us to the next portion of the business, any sort of old business. At the last meeting, we were talking about creating a subcommittee to evaluate the bylaws. It has been a long time since this board has looked at or updated the bylaws. Some of them are a bit out of date. For what the board is doing. I think it's a good idea to, even if nothing has changed, a good idea to have a subcommittee that would look over it and see if there are things that can be changed. I know one of the major ones is term discussion that we've had in the past, making sure that we don't have everyone's term end at the same time and potentially lose so much as far as institutional knowledge all at once on the board, especially a board as somewhat complicated as this, as well as possibly setting schedules for training practices, because there's a lot of training and formal training that's necessary for this board. So those types of things that aren't in the bylaws but would be helpful to possibly have in the bylaws. So setting a subcommittee that could look into that and come up with suggestions and see what could be updated and bring that report back to the board as a whole in a future date for a vote. Anyone's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's worth exploring. Personally, I think I'm most interested in staggering the terms. I think it's very wise to spread those out. And so I think it'd be a good thing to set up and do.
Anyone else have thoughts on establishing that subcommittee? Anyone interested in being on said subcommittee? I would be interested on being on said committee.
Yeah, I would as well.
We have to be careful of a quorum. We've got, so 3 is the max for this right now. Those of you out there who may be watching, This also brings up the point that we do still have 2 openings on this board. We are at 7, and capacity for this board is 9. So if you are interested in applying, please see that previous presentation that we just had from the clerk's office to see about how to go about doing that. So with 3, is there anybody else that would also interested in serving? I know Sophia had said at the last meeting that she was not interested, but anyone else? All right. So I guess we will recognize it with the 3 of us on there. We need a motion to create the subcommittee.
So moved.
Second.
Will that motion be to create the subcommittee and to have the 3 of you serve on it?
Yeah, let's remove that motion then.
Just amend it?
We'll amend the motion. We'll amend the motion to include the 3 of us. And those in favor? No?
Nope, I think we had a motion, right? So who made the motion?
Dean did.
Dean did, and then is there a second?
I seconded that one. I
Perfect.
just wanted to clarify, I think, subject to the amendments, Dean, are you still moving for that?
Yes,
Ah,
And then I still second.
to form the committee with the 3 members.
correct.
See, am I right?
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. We can set up an email as far as when we can meet. I also think that we should, we can discuss it as well as far as time frame. Is there a time frame that people are thinking for this? But we can discuss that as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have a meeting of the subcommittee before next meeting. You've got everything to bring at that meeting. Sounds like we're going to be busy enough anyways.
Yep.
But yeah, I think for now, I think the goal for the next meeting would be to have the subcommittee meet at least once before then.
All right. We will be in contact with one another to set that up. And is there any other old business that needs to be discussed? Brings us to open discussion. Any open discussion the board members would like to discuss? The only thing that I would like to ask is if we're up to date as far as the trainings that we need, because there is now an appeal on a potential appeal on the docket.
I believe everyone that's on the board has been fully trained. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. If we could look into that and get an update on that before the next meeting, that would be great. Anything else? That opens up for public comment. Those of you watching at home, if you would like to have public comment, please come to these meetings. And you are more than welcome to have public comment on the work that this board does. It's an important process, and being here and seeing the work that the board does, as well as being able to have the opportunity to lend your voice to the work that the board does, is very important. So I hope that people will join us. Seeing none, though, for public comment, it is closed. And that brings us to an adjournment at 4:32.